to treat clients, right? To heal people. And of course, the devices are part of it. But I want to start, let's start with Jeff at the other end. Tell me, first of all, I want to know what attracted you to get into this business in the first place? What was your reason? Besides, obviously, I need to make money, get jobs, support the family. But 25 years in, besides that, the basics, right?
Yeah, so I mean, the thing that got me involved is one, just previous background in working on, I guess I'll call it the other side of medicine, and finally kind of finding my way to where I feel like I was more helping people because we have more of a health and wellness approach to the business, and I just had a better feeling about that.
Now, tell me the vision. I want to hear the vision of Ergo and the company and where you guys are from. Obviously, starting with Jeremy's father creating that device. The traction device to where you guys are now. What's the vision for the company going the next 12, 24, 36 months?
Sure. So being about 15 years old as a company right now, we are actually building a new facility. So the vision is to expand and grow. Part of that is focus on our core business, which is chiropractic, and expand our reach within that group, but then really slingshot ourselves into the health and wellness. We've really found a great synergy between the two in working with the chiropractors, but also in coming to events like this. And other health and wellness events to where we can expand not only within the medical field, but also within health and wellness as a new industry.
Excellent, excellent. Dr. Becker,
sure.
You being working in hospitals and your vast experience, where do you see things? Obviously, you're a big fan of hydrogen. Where do you see things moving in the future as we're all are aging, as you said at the beginning of your presentation? Every day we're aging as we move forward here in life.
As you started the whole concept, it came to me, my perspective is a little bit archaic or a little bit before these people, but I will tell you there should not be this is new, I'm an early adapter, this is how I stack it, this is how I charge for it. You're in the middle of the greatest revolution of wellness and longevity I've ever seen in 35 years. Yeah. People are looking for everybody in this room. This is not where can I find the one guy who's doing this. This is everybody is in the same playing field. The difference is how you explain it. If you're educating and awareness, they're coming to you for solutions. They're not coming to say, I want to be a guinea pig, I'm worried. This has been out there a while. And once again, I think the real magnitude of this is so early in the curve, I think you should enjoy the ride, no matter where you're at and where you're going.
And I want to just say this, I'm going to turn to Tara in a minute, but would you agree that the education of the patient, and in some cases the practitioners, because if they're coming from practicing as a family medicine and they want to move to longevity, or I've lost over the last 2 years, I told you 100 pounds using peptides and biohacking, but everybody comes to me and say, oh, how long? Hey, I'm just going to do it for a month, or I'm just going to do it for a minute, right? Because people don't have the long view of their health. I had a heart attack. I know what bad health is, right? So I was just talking yesterday with Blake, talk about my trainer at Crunch. Guy passed away at 36 and he was injecting all kinds of stuff and he had a heart attack, This is the trainer, okay, young guy. So Tara, I want you to talk about AI and how the AI concept and really Heads Up is really moving the needle to bring all of this together, because at the end you're trying to say what's moving the needle for the patient, right? At the end of the day we want to give them better health. So how do you, perspective-wise, see that with AI and Heads Up?
Absolutely. I've had the honor of talking to doctors all over the world. I talked to a doctor in Angola a couple weeks ago and talk about leveling the playing field. Everybody has the opportunity to scale their business in a way that it was never possible. I went to the IT Expo earlier this year, and there are more under 30-year-olds building multi-million-dollar companies than ever before, and it's just going to keep on going. So the idea of having a brick and mortar is necessary. People, one of the conversations at that expo was that we see the writing on the wall, and these are all these AI, they're all the nerds in the room talking, and they're saying, just wait, people are going to want to pay for a real human. We're going to automate and make everything cheaper. It's all scalable, but people are going to pay more for the real person. So not only is AI leveling the playing field for doctors that don't have a huge facility to scale their business, but it's also on the personal part of really being able to replicate yourself and handle more patients, more automation on the back end. So you don't have a back end and admin that costs you more than your rent in a huge commercial space, right? Like that makes no sense. So it's exciting to me because growing up in an office, I was taking Metagenics orders and meals supplements.
Wow. Back in
Packing
the
the
day.
boxes, and I saw how my mom struggled as a single mom, going from being part of a big facility with a multidisciplinary facility to opening her own office and working out of our finished basement, in the Midwest. And I saw the struggle that she had where it was like, okay, you're seeing so many more patients, but she's working like 16-hour days, and those days, I think we just have to reframe how we think of running our businesses and be open to what's available.
That's so true, because the objective of these 2 days is how to run a destination practice. So with the AI, this allows you to remote patient monitor. And of course, we were talking about the AI allows you to take, hey, I'm doing a sleep study and I can quickly go through those patients. I mean, I'm sitting here at the back of the room. It shows you the ability of the AI. I'm snapping pictures I snapped our thing that Jeff and I did months ago, and I snapped it. It's now organized. I take all of my random thoughts and it organizes it for me. But again, it's also how effectively you train. In fact, I have a friend that trained 12 AI agents. They all got medical degrees. Go figure. So really, really powerful stuff. Eric, you are a man of many different disciplines, and I mean that with the utmost of respect, because not only do you do different things with movement, but you're an expert in a lot of these devices and implementation. So share with us, like from a movement and structural point of view, using these devices, how do you see that coming in as part of the whole practice? Because you got people coming in trying to get healed, but then they need the PT and they need all the other things to get them to that performance level. How do you see that?
Trying to get the words
On the
correctly
spot.
in my head.
Yeah, that's a big question.
Yeah. So I mentioned it earlier before. It's opening the pathway to allow things to occur. Like if you have someone with an acute injury, it's very difficult from a client perspective that's in pain. Tell them, okay, do some knee bends and some leg raises, right? That's why a lot of times people usually just stick them on a bike and be like, yeah, just bike. That's not actual healthcare, right? So how do we work to give them that ability and start changing the way that they move, changing the way that they perceived life in general? Well, you make it easier for them. That's where the traditional medications come in to do that, but people don't think that way. I resolve the symptom, and that's it. I feel great. Thanks, doc. It's not fixing a problem. Why don't we look at it as, hey, let's see if we could give you some more mobility and some more, let me rephrase that, less discomfort of what I need you to do. So let's apply hydrogen, let's apply PMF, let's apply some other form of recovery modalities that you prefer, so that now I can take you by the hand and start giving you the corrections needed. So now we actually produce a new type of pathway. You're learning the skills necessary to stay off getting re-injured or reintroducing that discomfort that just wasn't fixed in the first place. That's where PT and everything else comes in place. When you look at the total care, and this is why I got into this space and why I wanted to learn a lot of different subjects, when I was in a PT clinic, one of the biggest problems we always had was people keep coming back for the same thing. They just keep coming back for the same thing. 6 weeks of treatment, 12 weeks of treatment, a month later, it's the same thing. Why is that? Because no one ever looked outside of just one thing.
Right.
Okay? Like the doctor only saw one system of the body, versus the osteopath saw another system of the body, versus a chiropractor saw just one system of the body. You're not using, You have 13 systems in your body, 12 and one subset. You need to look at everything to give this person the best care possible.
So most of it is not integrated because you're
It's
going to
not.
multiple
So
specialists.
it's hard
and
because
things of that nature.
putting it all together is a pain in the ass.
Makes sense.
I'll give you an example. I had a dietitian telling me how to take blood pressures. It's disrespectful, right?
Well, I also believe we're in an era where there's a lot of people. I was with a group they're from Europe. They have an Omega that they're very successful. They said everybody in the States wants a show. They're going to listen to the influencer and not the doctor, right? If he treated Kim Kardashian's be, oh, now they're going to go to you, right?
Right.
Where in Europe, they're more on the education side. So they're having a hard time getting their brand awareness because everybody here, they want to see show and influence.
It's not only that. So up in Europe, they don't have as much resource as the United States have. So one analogy I usually give people, if LeBron James falls in Europe and has a knee problem, guess what? They're going to get everybody involved to fix LeBron James' knee because there's no one replacing LeBron James. But here in the United States, who could runner up after LeBron James? You got a couple other players that could take his spot.
Right.
Different mentality, different mindset, different amount of resources available.
Makes sense. Doctor.
Yes, sir.
All right. Share with us, you gave us a lot of great knowledge.
Thank you.
And share with us your perspective of taking your clients down this road, and then let's say they're getting healed and they keep making the same irresponsible decisions because they think they can get back at it on the basketball court or the tennis court or the pickleball, and then they're back in their office. So what do you have to say about these folks who kind of crawl before you walk and run?
So, I mean, you're speaking to me myself because that's why my knee keeps hurting because I won't stop playing basketball.
Right, but you got to keep injecting.
But I know how to keep injecting myself. From the business perspective, those patients are great because they keep coming back. But I work very closely with the PTs and the chiropractors and the people that do the body work to make sure that, as you were saying, the biomechanical problems that are leading to their issues have to be corrected. I say this in my YouTube videos all the time. I can inject you to Kingdom Come, but if you're not getting your glutes or your hamstrings or your quads to fire, you're going to be back and you're going to be asking me to. If you want to spend $10,000 every year or every 6 months, fine, great. But I don't think you do, right? So I think we need to, as you were saying, we need to get better at looking at the people or looking at a person as a whole and not just getting focused on the knee. So I'll give you a story. It's kind of like you did, right? So I had a patient that I took care of him probably 4 years ago. Came into me with an MRI with a very mild chondromalacia, so like early cartilage sitting behind his kneecap and a very mild amount, or a small labral tear in his hip. Came in, wanted to do stem cells. I was like, you know what, I don't know if this is the answer, but look, we have pathology here, great. He comes to see me like 2-3 weeks ago. He's like, you know what, like I feel better, but I don't feel better. Let's get MRIs again. And I'm like, hey man, listen, I'll get the MRIs again for this because I get it, we treated it, and you want to see what it looks like, but I think we need to look at, and it was in this case, your spine. I was like, I think I need to look at your spine because what you're telling me is your knee feels like this when you do this, and that's not from what I treated. And then, lo and behold, his MRI shows that his chondromalacia is all the way better, his labral tear was healed, and he had a small disc herniation in his back that nobody in the last 5 years that he's been seeing multiple opinions looked at, right?
Or look for it.
Look for it. They didn't even look for it. They're just like, oh, you have, because what does he come in? He complains of my knee hurts. So great, and I did the same thing, right, 5 years ago, but now that I know he's not better, you have to kind of again look higher up because.
Yeah, that's right.
Well,
I had someone like that too.
If that person is only talking about the knee, they're asymptomatic, and we're talking cash based here.
Yep.
Then there's going from insurance to cash is one thing. Then going from cash to cash.
Cash to cash.
Plus another cash. Okay. That how do you maneuver through that? Because see, part of the problem is when they come to you, I'm based on the conversation, they already know they're getting ready to drop some dough.
Yeah.
Okay, let's be clear. So they've either been to somebody, and they're already conditioned that that's what I need, and then you give them an alternative. It's sort of like, when somebody operates on somebody, their insurance is billed, and
Yep.
then they come to me and say, I'm not better, and then I said, okay, well, I can do this to help you. You're doing the same thing,
Yep.
it's just,
It's cash.
It's cash.
Yeah.
So how do you I'm not saying it's wrong to do it. I'm just saying it's very difficult practically to do it when the person says, well, I've never hurt my back.
Yeah, with this patient, I had that same conversation. He says, my back doesn't hurt at all.
How do you do it?
Educate them.
Educate them. Yeah, my consult's an hour, right? So I spend a lot of time talking to them. But in this case, it's the same thing. So I got him first crack, right?
Yeah.
When I did his knee and his hip 5 years ago, that was the first time somebody like me was looking at him.
Right.
Now I have the advantage of he comes back to my office 5 years later. He's like, it's better, but it was never like quite right. And then when I'm scanning him in the office doing my ultrasound, I'm like, things look good. Let's do the MRI, and then we find. So with that case, or with the patients that have already tried something, I had the luxury of knowing what didn't work.
Yes.
Right?
It makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
So,
I had a similar story.
You hate to say it, but
Yeah.
it's so much better. I mean, you're playing with house money at
Yeah.
that point.
Yeah.
Because you aren't going to make them worse.
I had a similar story. I had a guy that came in with heel pain. For 5 years, they've been looking at his heel, his foot, and they're like, there's nothing wrong with that guy.
No knee, no hip.
And then I see him walk, and he's stiff as a board, like no rotation and lumbopelvic. So I'm like, you know what? Just humor me. Go check your back. Just humor me. Go check your back. Turns out he had a pinched disc. And then they're like, oh, yeah, they found it. They snipped it. And then all of a sudden, my heel pain's gone. It's like, oh, interesting. Cool.
So could you say this? I know, Dr. Becker, you had a point you wanted to interject.
Yeah, see, the interesting part is you're in an unusual gray zone right now where you're transitioning. People are looking. Using technology, they are absolutely seeking these. The people I got back 5, 8, 10 years ago, they were frustrated by seeing 25 different people that gave them nothing.
Right.
No solutions, literally knew nothing other than that heel or the one body part. So now you're in an interesting transition when they're actually not only walking in prepared, walking in knowing, as you just said, Brian, that this is like, I know I'm going to pay some money, but they're getting answers, and they're getting what he's giving, which is the solution. They're finding, hey, here's what happens. Well, when you got somebody that sees that in 10 minutes, you know what you're talking about. Compliant, motivated, and a partnership. Totally different than historic medicine. Now they realize they're not being talked down to. Nobody's this godlike whatever he thinks it is. Yeah. But the mystification of healthcare professionals, I believe, thankfully, is because of information educating people. Hey, there's people now who have got some innovative things, and kudos to you.
Yes, and it definitely helps. You just play on it.
Yeah.
I think you can take this to a different level too, and this is really what the theme of everything that we do here and at each of our workshops and beyond, like day to day. But it's you have to have objective data, and so to sit down with a client or a patient and explain to them it's not your foot, it's your back, or it's not your knee, it's your back.
Makes sense.
It's based off of objective data. And the problem in traditional medicine is that they don't rely on objective data in every scenario. Right?
They don't share it.
They'll look at the knee and they'll say, okay, let's inject your knee. And then what do? Do they do it with ultrasound or they do it blind? Right? And so the majority of the time they're doing blind injections. Or they're going to ignore the root cause because they don't care about the root cause, they care about the procedure. It's a very procedural focus, which is now we're branching out. Let's become more destination, but let's also look at it more systemically.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's, obviously this has a lot of integration with the orthopedic world. And the reality is, there's a certain mindset that is hard to shake when, you're, I'm older than baseball, but the fact of the matter is I was on the side where you got 100% of what you build, so it was less of an issue. Now that, it's that's 33%. So you have to be innovative in terms of what you need to do, and plus there's more education out there because guess what? If you're not doing it, they're going somewhere.
Right.
Okay, they're going to go somewhere.
They're looking.
And not only that, they're going to say to someone else, that guy's not good because he can't do PRP. that guy's not good because
The standard's
he's using
different.
Shockwave.
Standard's
He must not be a good doctor. I mean, you're judged on whether or not you order MRIs, whether they need them or not. So this is just that next level that patients understand, and plus frustration equals willingness to pay.
Yes, that's so
Okay?
true.
And
Yeah.
quite frankly, I mean, this is going to sound a certain kind of way, but I play on that. Okay,
Yeah.
because I said, look, surgery's trauma. That's what it is. Okay, you have to cut through nerves. You have to, and we don't know why some things occur, but it's best. I'd rather get you 85% better non-operatively than what you have to go through with less than a good chance, particularly your vision surgery. Because I see a lot of that. Because I'm an orthopedic foot and ankle guy. There's only 7 orthopedic foot and ankle guys in Palm Beach County. You know how many podiatrists there are? Not to disparage them.
75.
250.
Jesus.
Okay, so you're almost like a tertiary referral system because you're usually the third opinion. And again, I know some really good podiatrists. So I don't want y'all to think I'm biased that way because I'm completely not. But
I'm going to cut you off only because I want to get through the panel.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
My apologies.
no problem. So Jeff, I want you to come talk about, when we started this thing off, you talked a lot about metabolic code.
Sorry about that.
Right, you were talking when we started, no, it's okay. The metabolic code, kind of address that a little bit because I think that was a big thing that part of this whole program is also covering that, especially when it deals with Dexa.
Yeah, well, I mean, the whole concept and the way, we kind of phrase it and we kind of develop 4 pillars within a destination practice, but it all begins at the metabolic phase. So, we have to identify baseline. So typically in an optimization practice, the go-to is blood work, right? So we get a lot of information, but then we also want to get a good look inside the body. And so again, we're looking at years and years of data accumulation as health optimization has grown. It didn't just start yesterday. And so we have to make sure that we're not functioning based on subjective data. We want very objective data, and it's also a differentiator. So what's the difference between your practice that's capturing data and the guy down the street that's just a hormone replacement processing center? And it all comes down to the data. So the starting point, blood work, body composition, RMR VO2 max, that's your core functional objective data that you can't really dispute because you're capturing it. Now it's also your repeatable data as long as it's operating with precision. And Eric talks a lot about this point also, which is there's your starting point, and he mentioned it when he was talking. That's how your program is then designed and developed based on objective data. It's interesting because I heard a story from my sister-in-law who, after years of hearing about this, finally went someplace in Michigan, saw the doctor, was put on hormone replacement. I said, "Oh, that's amazing that you finally started. What was your Dexa? What was your body comp?" "Oh, they didn't do that." I said, well, "Okay, great. Didn't do body comp. What was your RMR?" "Didn't do that." "Okay, what about your blood work? What was your hormone levels at?" "Didn't do that."
Jeez.
I said,
Anything.
"So what are they basing this off of?" "Age," right? And so it was kind of a one size fits all. And as we know, that's not the case. It can't be one size fits all, And so I said, well, the first thing you're going to do is go get your blood checked. Go find a doctor. Here's a couple of people in your area. Go talk to them and start getting some objective data. It's a big differentiator. I think, and Guy could probably talk a lot about this also in terms of even the regenerative side, those that are out there without the objective data that are delivering PRP that if you actually put it through a blood analyzer, it's not really PRP. And so it's this. So we have to really go through and understand the objective data. And that's why the metabolic starting point, metabolic is the repeat of all the testing that proves that the direction you're moving through with your program is actually working.
Yeah, it's all about data now, especially how easy it is to question you now.
And that leads right into the AI, which obviously gives you the ability to manage that data highly effectively. Jeff, talk to me a little bit about PMF. Talk about why do you like the PMF within the clinic, and what are you seeing how people are using? Are they putting it as part of a treatment program? Mm-hmm. Or are they taking it as a separate type of product and they're charging it individually? How have you seen it work in your clinic and what other clients are working with?
So the reason I like PMF is it's, for me at least, was easy to understand. I saw that it was easy also to implement within a practice. So when talking with different physicians and different health and wellness ownership, it's how we enter that market, right? And when they're looking for different modalities, because it can be utilized with other modalities that will complement it, it's an easy pitch, for lack of a better phrase, to place it in their business model. And when they talk about the business model and how it can be done, because of that flexibility, it's not like it's just a one model. They can utilize their own model, or they can learn from folks that have experience into how they can package that to even make it even more effective as a package to their end client, their patients. So with PMF, it's easy to use, it's versatile because it's not just for a main hip, it's not just a generalization, you can customize it.
Excellent. Now, talk to me about the other device, the Mito, right?
The Mito 2, which is our responsive oxygen therapy. That's our IHHT, so intermittent hyperoxic therapy. Again, it's one of those that, as I came into this part of the business, it was like, you don't think about oxygen, how important oxygen is, and really what part it plays within your body, but even more so how it how it can help generate the energy within the cell base. And so when you look at that, that's an easy pitch as well. And when we talk to doctors, when we talk to people that have been in health and wellness for their life, and you're like, so what are you doing for oxygen? They go, what? And you kind of laugh with them, and they're like, well, I didn't think about it that way. It's like, So whether you're an elite athlete, or if you're a Joe Blow like myself that used to be an athlete but never was an elite athlete, you can implement that. But it's something easy. People can understand it, and it's not above their head because they're like, it's oxygen. Once you explain them the simple pathway and how it helps them from a cellular basis, they can grasp onto that.
Are you using that as a lead generation tool, that device, to bring new clients in, or is it just part of your overall package?
It is right now because it's newer to us. I mean, we've been working with IHHT since 2017, but we've evolved it to where it is today with the new application, the new app, and the science behind it, and how we can pull that data and track it. But it is a lead generation, so we are utilizing that as a open the door. For offices, not only for who we work with, but the other offices that are currently buying it, that's their key market opportunity because it is separating them from other offices and other businesses within their area. Excellent.
Dr. Becker,
Sir.
When somebody goes and they're thinking of buying a device for their clinic, but you're really trying to set up a wellness center, what is your recommendation in terms of the number of units you really should have, especially if, I got a busy clinic.
Sure.
One device is like, you need to have more. So what's been like your best success, or what you see going on out there in the market?
I ask Eric because he's the expert in how to do that.
Eric, listen, Eric knows how many different devices.
He's unbelievable.
I'm at
Kudos to
32
him.
now.
And by the way, just as another perspective, Jeff and your team, kudos, because this didn't exist to bring clinical practices to educate them on how to take this to the next level. Whether it's cash or not cash is not the issue, but they're bringing you active, valuable information of how to make your practices grow. And so I want to just highlight two things and then answer your question. This is part of our lives forever. I wasn't tailing off what I said before, but realize this is your window to the waiting room. And if you think your waiting room's smaller than the planet, you are so wrong. You can telehealth the planet and charge for it, and instead of needing 30, 40, 50 patients, you can get 10. You can get a few families. You can do concierge medicine. There is so many ways I don't like the word stack, but to put this together structurally. And when you use the cell phone, and again, starting at 15, these people are scaling businesses in the tens of thousands of dollars a week.
Right.
They want to look good. So if you don't think that you need to get aesthetics on board, whether it's exosomes, PRP, or anything, I'm not a big fan of fillers because it's so permanent and you got to wait till it wears off. But if you don't understand, these people now have their entire careers to look good and sound good. And this is their window. Yeah. They don't need to walk around and get, Sears catalogs and get, brochures. Yeah. They need to know this is getting them exposed. You don't need to be an influencer. Mm-hmm. You literally don't unless you want to make a lot of content. But these are the kind of ways you guys can get really creative, and you're leading the pack. And again, kudos to Jeff and the team, because this is where you guys are absolutely, in my experience, you're killing it because this is when it's all bringing to light.
Right, 100%. And yes, sir.
You want me to
Answer your questions.
that question?
Go
You
ahead.
can answer it, and I'll sort of add. Let me add first, and then you're going to tell the right answer. It depends upon the size, obviously. Depends upon how many your flow is. You don't want 6 machines sitting there doing nothing.
Right.
You want one that you know you're going to see one person in let's say they're going to have 3 appointments a day. One machine is plenty to let somebody sit for 30 minutes before the next appointment.
Right.
Don't kill yourself. You don't need the investment. Loan programs, if I didn't mention it before, there's loan programs available. There's revenue generators just because loaning is going to give you more access to more machines.
Sure.
That's another thing. And again, same thing offering to the client. If they want to loan one, maybe they don't have $6,500. On a 2-year Klarna plan, we've got it where you could $210 a month in 2 years, no interest. You can pay off the machine if your interest is taking it at home.
Sure, and I'm sure you could have a revenue plan that pays it off much.
I love it, and that's
Right.
something we'll be talking to you
So-
guys about. Eric, go ahead, please.
Aside from size and patient flow, you also got to take in consideration, is my patient, am I built as a brand for luxury or for giving them what I need to give them? There's a difference between the two. Luxury demands space.
Yeah.
Space. The more space you have, the more luxurious you feel. But
And
is
it
my
better look
clientele
good.
going to pay for luxury?
It better look good.
It better look
Marble
good.
and windows.
So if you have too many
Posh
units,
with protein shakes.
then it looks like a clumpy mess. But if you're just you come in, you do your program, I'm going to kick your ass like an NFL combine or an NFL like strength conditioning room, you could have a ton of units in there and just have them go through the motion. So those are some things to consider when you're going to invest into certain amounts of units.
Right.
It's
So it's
really dependent.
concierge versus, hey, I'm running whether it's like more
Practical.
high volume type of
Right.
practice.
Yeah.
Very important. So,
Very important.
Tara, let's talk about that because if people are scaling, and Dr. Becker said, hey, everything's on the phone. We live a world on this phone now. Talk about how Heads Up is really helping practices better manage data and actually give the practitioners more time with clients or just more time freedom. So, like, my doc is at 6. He has little kids. He's like, what do I do? Let me get in the salt room. He's like, how do I get into the office? The other door's like, I go walk in, talk to nobody, go in that room and close the door because he had to work with patients all day. And if the doc is in flight from the minute he walks in, how are his patients going to be there? So, Tara, address this because I think this is critical in terms of time freedom for doctors.
Absolutely. Number one, who wants to build their own mobile app and pay tens of thousands of dollars and months of development and learn enough technical terms so that you can tell your development team what you want your end user UI UX to be? Nobody, right? You're lucky if one person in your office is the tech savvy person. So that's what we handle. We give you a mobile app. It's not tens of thousands of dollars. We do have some practices.
Turkey ready to go.
Yeah,
Turnkey ready to go.
ready to go. You get a QR code or a URL link that you can put in emails, and your patients, you can have a little QR code at the office. They scan the app, they're part of your organization. And it's just so, it's never been easier. I think of all the apps that we have on our phones already, and a lot of patients from the feedback is like another app, right? Like you already have your Aura app, then you have your Whoop app, and then you're changing, your sleep. Okay, I don't want to wear my watch while I sleep, so I'm gonna put on my Aura ring when I sleep. But then I can't work out with my Aura ring, right? Because I'm gonna break it, so I put on my Whoop band. So can you imagine trying to filter that data of like, well, what was your HRV? Now I'm looking at 2 different devices, and that's just 2 things. So
Right.
having an app that gives you a dashboard to really simplify what matters, that's the key of scaling, right? So being able to automate the programs that you have so that you have the important clinical alerts in one place, your staff or you, if you're wearing all the hats, can respond to those. And everything else is going to be, on a weekly or monthly basis, you have a report that shows you how people are moving along. The other thing that really stood out to me, at the tech show, was the ability to be able, how AI is able to analyze information and work across your practice is unbelievable. Like, who uses Claude, or who's heard of Claude?
Perplexity.
Perplexity, right?
Same different language.
So there's an assistant there that's logging into your email, writing a draft for you in your tone of voice, right? And a lot of times the doctors that I speak with, they're like, oh, I don't know, I don't trust it. Once I just do it for them. It's not even, has nothing to do with Hoods Up. I'm just like, just try this, trust me, and they're just like, I can't believe this is saving me like 3 to 5 hours a day already. And it's like, at the end of the week, if you had 15 to 20 hours back,
Right.
now, are you
money.
actually leaving the office on time? Are you not taking your work home? You're not doing notes in your bed, So that's what I see is exciting for the practices that are really able to wrap their arms around it. And now you mentioned people are looking for precision medicine, right? If you don't have your own app, patients feel like it's going to become old school calling the office. They're going to expect you to know that they weren't feeling well, that they didn't get a call, you know? I think that's kind of where this is going, where people are like, why didn't, you should have known. My HRV has been tanked for 5 days, What do you think I'm here
They
for?
want to monitor the hell out of
And
themselves.
that's with the whole remote patient monitoring. Also with the software, what's great is you can put your own content. So if doctor, you want to put all your ozone content, you could put video content in there for people for education. So you can put all of that into the system and it's secured. So it allows you to say, oh, go to the site. That's why I liked it too. From the other side, see, it's the B2B focus for the doctors, but think about all the people that just don't know what they don't know, and we're helping them just get a control of their health, and this is the biggest challenge. People are running around out there. We do lots of events, Jeff will tell you, and people are running out there with misinformation. They're going, what about this? What about this? Hey, I got a peptide for this guy. Oh, this doesn't work. Because people don't, they're dangerous. There's a lot of dangerous people out
Overloaded.
there. They went on the internet, now they're an expert. And then they tell you, Dr. Becker, more than they think they know more, right?
It's overloaded.
Everybody, right. So that's what
For those of you who are involved in research who want to prove the data of what you're learning, embrace AI and do not run from it. Seriously, you can crunch prognoses. They're doing it in radiology. They're doing it in some different specialties now, where they're saying, if I see these kind of metrics, what is the likelihood that this 50-year-old is going to have this? Well, guess what? Now you're being your own research center. And AI allows you to do that all day long with no charge. You just put it out there, embrace a system like this where it's monitored. And that way you can take that data. If there's anything that's monetizable data.
Yep.
When you get to be scalable enough, they're going to buy some data, especially some of these companies, insurance and otherwise.
And I'll tell you, I've been working with a couple of lab companies, John and I, one company, this guy's got every test covered, like you wouldn't believe. This other one is doing GLP testing through an AI. They're coming out with a mineral test. So everything, with a little swab, they send it in and now you won't know all your data. Real critical.
I wanted to add something super quick. Right now, you have to be very careful, right, of what you have on your Shopify store, your e-commerce store, what words you have on your website in terms of peptides and
promises
stem
that you can't
cells
make,
and
right.
Kick you right off social media.
So keeping inside an app keeps it safe. So your patients can have the resource, kind of like a clinical note when you send them a clinical summary. It can have a PDF, it can be embedded with a video, but guess what? It's a paywall, it's private, and you don't have to worry about it being, once it's on the internet on your website, forget it. You're gonna, clinics are getting shut down left and right, so.
And the other thing is this becomes another another revenue generator for you as well. Very, very important. Dr. Guy, let me ask you a question. Tell me where you see the future of where you are, and you're opening another clinic, right, another location. Where do you see the future for yourself, and what do you see the future of the industry of where we're going?
So in the autologous space, I think the future is what we're talking about right now, where everything is integrated, right? You make your cells better, you make your treatments better. So you implement these tools in a smart, mindful way, you get better results. Beyond that, I mean, at some point, the cells are going to be patented, right? We're going to have biologics that we can get from a bottle that we don't have to go and harvest, and don't have to be so reliant on that person being as healthy as possible to get results. But that's kind of the direction that we're going. Yeah.
Right now. So it's all about, and are you finding a lot more of your patients are actually in tune with their own health, or they're more like, oh, I came, like you said, they go off, they do the treatment, they go off irresponsibly and come back? Or you're finding more people are like really taking your advice and managing their improvement?
I'm finding that more of my patients are really taking my advice and listening to me, and part of that might be my price point, right? Because now I'm much more expensive than your typical PRP or your typical stem cell, so they're together with me, we're making an investment in their care, and then they understand that if they want to hold me to the fire and say they come back and say, hey, I didn't get as better as you said I was going to, I can also turn back and say, but I told you not to do this, and we talked about this part of it, and so you get more buy-in, right?
Which goes back to the partnership. Goes back to the partnership relationship with the doctor.
Invested.
And because again, people are, I can tell you in our clinic, people will spend a lot of money and they're coming back. Why? Because they want results. Some doctors or physicians say, or chiropractors say, hey, I'm not going to charge, I'm not going to use this device because I fixed that patient on one time and they never come back. How about we say we fix them, we give them other treatments to help them improve the quality of their life. Jeff, you've been at this for what, 30 years? You guys at Dexa, close to that. And I want kind of you working with so many clinics, like what do you see as perspective? Because obviously you've created this great center to really help practitioners. And let's give it up again, because this is visionary. And it really is, because we created something with the doctor to do training, but this is really great because this is the training. It's not like, hey doc, I got to pull you out because you got a patient. You can come here and really concentrate on, let me work on my business. I think one of the challenges, and we're going to talk more about it, and I want you to put this down for yourself. What are those non-urgent but important things you got to implement in your business, in your business that's critical, versus, hey, I got to stick the Band-Aid. Just like we're asking the client to find the root cause, how do we do that with our business? So Jeff, speak to that, because our objective is to people to come back a year from now. Hey, my clinic's up $1 million. I've got hydrogen. I'm using the strategies. I'm implementing movement. I got AI, and you're back here talking about your success story at the next level. Because again, Dr. Becker said it. It's not like the people are looking. We just have to be, hey, and guess what? If I'm in Kendall, I'm not going to probably be running up here, but I will, because he fixes my problem. Jeff, take the floor. I'm sorry.
So, thanks for all that. But again, the idea when we came together with Regentex, our company, and Regentex, so really Joel and I spearheading putting this training center together. It was years of going to workshops and conferences and supporting workshops and conferences with all the modalities. We'd go in, support them, and then see the outcomes. In many of the cases, we'd see providers walking out more confused than when they went in. And that was mainly because there was a lot of ambiguity in terms of the modalities, the products, the concepts that they were teaching or educating on didn't always mesh with the clinical efficacy and outcome. That was kind of one purpose. The other part is we're putting all this time and effort helping others, not providing the highest possible level of education possible. And so it was really important. Joel really spearheaded putting this lab together. That's his background with Regentex. He's gone for the weekend at a conference. But having the lab is really important for the regenerative side. And understanding how to do side-by-side comparatives with all these different products that are out there. There's companies out there, big names, selling products that if you do a side-by-side comparative through the blood analyzer, won't actually be what they promote it to be. And that's a big deal, right? And so for the providers that are out there selling it, not getting the outcomes, it really puts a bad name in the industry, but it's a bad name for that provider. And every single modality that we work with has gone through the same detailed thought process until we started working with it. And so whether it's our shockwave therapy devices, we've kind of been through the ringers, but understanding when we start stacking them side by side, digging into the science, looking at the clinical outcomes. And then even one of your slides had Schmidt's. It was one of his studies.
Yep.
He's one of the foremost written researchers in the world on shockwave therapy and regenerative medicine. I think he's in Switzerland or Germany. We had him at one of our first workshops talking about shockwave therapy and the science behind shockwave. And when you actually go into and understand the science of shockwave therapy, then you come to realize that many of the devices that are being sold out there, that are using shockwave therapy, will never, doesn't matter what they say, will never produce enough energy output to be considered therapeutic. It can't exist. There's a very clear measure, and there's real science, and there's real clinical outcome, and if you don't meet that equation, I don't care how much marketing you spend, you're never going to be that. And so having that clear understanding, again, that's a good reason for the workshop. Ultrasound, doing side-by-side comparatives. Can you actually see what you're supposed to see? There's companies out there, again, that are promoting heavily, aggressively, promoting products, and they make it sound really cool, but then when you start using them, you realize I can't really see what I'm supposed to see. So doing side-by-side analysis with that. This is, really the foundation. And so for us, 30 years into this, working across multiple different specialties, which is, something that, I've had, tremendous experience, doing. If I think about my starting point 30 years ago when we started the business, our core purpose was helping internal medicine and family practice doctors not lose patients. And that was in an insurance-based type of environment. And typically, they were sending patients to imaging centers and cardiologists for routine types of diagnostic testing that they could do in their office. So that was kind of that was the impetus to everything where we're at today, was how can we help that group of doctors? It ended up morphing into Dexa as a foundation for us, and that ended up really leading us into health optimization and longevity medicine and cash-based medicine. And really today, if I look back, there was a tipping point where we were at one conference with traditional medicine, and a week later, a month later, we're at an A4M or AMMG conference, and everybody at the A4M or AMMG, whichever one we're at, everyone was running around happy and smiling, and the other one, they were miserable, right? And it was a very clear understanding of the direction that we were moving in, right? And that was probably 15, 16 years ago. And so it was, okay, cash-based medicine is the direction we're moving in, and it took a little bit, but here we are. Now, to get to this point, and Dr. Coleman really brought it up, it's the differentiator, right? If you're going to cash and being able to understand how can I help this client, and really we're selling at that level, and we're providing a super high level of service. And if we're going to sell, we also have to be very clear on where we want to be. We could be a 5-star or 5-star rated steakhouse, or we could be McDonald's, right? And somewhere in between. You don't necessarily need as many clients when you're high level as you do when you're, subpar retail. Maybe there's a place for both, I don't know. But I think when you're operating at a higher level, there's more that goes into it from an educational perspective, bringing these groups together, learning from some of the best in the industry. We're sitting here with a YouTube sensation that's growing, but it's important, right? And so even for that, when we started piecing our workshops together, it was making sure that even the providers we work with are some of the best in the industry, and it's critical. And then everyone gets to benefit at the end of the day.
That's awesome. And again, the whole objective, you got great practitioners, experts, people that are in the business doing it. Let's do the final word, right? You guys are all gonna be here tomorrow, but 30 seconds or less. Give me your best, what you see, your final word to the group, which you want to just leave them with a word of wisdom.
Word of wisdom is take all this in, because it's a great opportunity for us to learn from each other. I don't see these folks or anybody out here as competition. If we work together, it's up to us to separate ourselves from the other people and to elevate ourselves to the highest level of service. And you have all the tools you need to do it with. You just got to make that move.
Awesome.
None of you were business people when you came into practice, and I get, except for business holders, baseball. I don't think anybody had the trainings in business. invest in yourselves. You're here for a weekend. You paid a couple of dollars. You are learning from, to me, I believe these people are as high a caliber as I've ever seen. Kudos to Jeff and the team again, and Eric. But realize, it's not selling in the traditional way we grew up selling. This is explaining, what are your goals? How can I help you get there? And how can we work together to get there? And all of a sudden, you find people are going to raise their hand and say, I'm ready. Yeah. And you don't have to worry about asking them for money. And I got to tell you, it's very uncomfortable coming from where some of us came from. But when you talk dollars in the 4, 5, 6 figures, as he has, no. People really don't have a problem with money. They will find the money. You need to have some kind of options, of course, so you work with them and get them to their goals. But just ask them, find out where they're at. How can we work together to get where you want to go?
I think money goes out the window when you're health. And people get to a certain age. My father's age, dealing with neuropathy, found out he has other issues. He's spending whatever he can because he's having issues walking, and he can afford to do it.
Beautiful.
So don't, and I will say this to everybody, don't count the money in your client's pocket, because maybe you're having a tough month, you don't know that client's walking in. I can tell you, we have clients that pay close to $40,000 for a stem cell treatment. You wouldn't believe it, but they do, because if they really, as Les Brown's manager would say, people beg for what they want and pay for what they need. So like you said, they'll find a way if they want it. Tara?
Find the stack that you love, right? There's all these modalities, and you know your patients, but what they're going to want to know is what you use. And if you haven't been using any of your modalities,
don't even try it. Don't even try it. Don't try it.
But I think, my mom's practice, she worked in so many different facilities that had multidisciplinary modalities. So I was really lucky at a young age to not only learn the devices, but get to really have them on. Nothing was wrong with me, but just health reasons. Go do it. Go over there. Keep yourself busy. And I think right now, as I talk to doctors in the UK, there's so many doctors that are trying to get out of the NHS, and they don't have a quarter of the resources that we have here. So kudos, yes, to Jeff, the Erics, everybody here. It's at our fingertips, and we really get overwhelmed by it. But it's like we're the spoiled children of resources here. Where the UK, they're they're trying. I had a doctor in Ireland who was like, if I come to the U.S., like, which conference should I go to? I was like, oh my God.
Which weekend do you want to give up, right? Is this thing going on a weekend?
But that's where we're at. And here we have conferences. If you live here in Florida, last time I was here, most of the doctors were from out of state. But you're here in Florida, it's like you'll spend more time out of the office if you went to every conference than if you were in practice. So that's my 2 cents. Thank you.
Eric?
They kind of took all the good ones.
It's all about where you sit, Eric.
I'm just gonna
sit
repeat
better, Eric.
I'm just gonna repeat what I mentioned earlier. Everything works, and nothing works. It's just how you use it is what really counts. Whether it's red light, PMF, or anything, it's how you fit it into your program. How can you prove that it's actually making a change in this person's life, not from a qualitative perspective, me telling you, but from a numbers perspective. Because now everybody could say, yeah, you're doing much better. How do you know, Doc? I don't feel better. I don't feel any change. And the reason why I say this, because I learned the hard way a long time ago, and especially like now. Any fool can make another fool sweat. Any fool can make another fool sweat. Isn't that true? Right? I've seen it. Trainers taking in a client first day, gets them to do this massive workout, weighs them before, weighs them again after, say, "Sir, I got you to lose weight the first day." Ha! So, see? Now you get it. Any fool will make another fool sweat. So in the end of the day, follow your morals. Prove to them that you're making a big difference with what you believe works. I don't care what it is. But you gotta prove it, right? That's what I'll give as 2 cents.
Perfect. Dr. Guy?
Pick your core belief and build around it. think there's a lot of really cool, like especially when you start going to these conferences, like as Jeff alluded to, there's all these fancy shiny toys, and you want to buy them all. They all give you some, or they all give your patient some benefit. But if you buy them all, you're a master, or you're a slave to all the payments, right?
Yes.
I have very limited toys that I use, but I add them very thoughtfully. So it took me a while before I decided to buy the Shockwave machine. Now I'm eyeing the next piece of equipment that I want to buy, and the next one. Like I have a roadmap of what I want to do to make sure that I can still give my patients good care, but not put myself in financial distress. The nice thing is once you're doing well enough, as you start implementing more of those things, you can add to your price too. So you can charge more money. But the core is still the thing, right? Like this is way longer than 30 seconds. I do lots of stuff that we're talking about here. Like they're talking about, I do peptides, we do ozone, we do all these things. My core is injecting joints and getting people better. So everything that I do, I think about how I'm gonna make the joint better. And if you focus on the core part of whatever the business is that you want, if it's, I wanna make people lose 1,000,000 pounds in 10 minutes, good luck. But if that's what you wanna do, make sure that everything you do surrounds that.
Weigh them in, do a workout, weigh them after. Done.
Weigh them in, pull out all their blood and put them on there.
That's it. Done.
Take your sneakers off. Baby, you lost 5 pounds.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, Jeff. And by the way, tomorrow we're talking a lot of business. I'm going to give you some things to think about tonight, because part of this is what's your objective. While I'm talking about, write a number down. How much you want to increase your revenue, and how many patients do you need? When we talk to you tomorrow about your ability to speak in front of a group, this is critical, because this is your communication to talk to a group of potential patients, to talk to other practitioners, wherever you want to. You're an educator, right? You teach residents in one of the hospitals, right?
Yes, sir.
So again, utilize that skill. We're going to talk more about it. John, we were Top Doctor Magazine. It's one of the leading magazines. So we'll show you tomorrow how to use all of these tools. But part of your homework tonight, part of it should be, what do I want to be with my business, right? You know, we're here spending the time, but think about it. Are you getting out working so late that you're stressed out? Or have you figured out utilizing these tools so you're having a good quality of life? Because at the end of the day, right, we only got a limited number of hours. So I really want you to think about that, because when I said this morning about telling your story as you process all of this, how is the business side relating to how you are running your personal and professional life? So you have time for your family, you have time for travel, you have time to come to education. And if you're always working, what happens? Hey, you got, and we try to get balance. Is there really a balance? I don't know, it crosses over. But I just want you to think about that. So before we kind of end the panel, and let's give it up for our panelists. Great job, thank you. Jeff, why don't you close that last piece out, and then we'll kind of move to the close of the first day.
Yeah, so I think it's really important that you guys took the time to be here today. This is kind of that first step, you know, when you're investing in the development of the practice. Sometimes it's not always easy, you know, when we're making big transitions or making these big leaps. But this is really, you know, the first step. And one of the, again, you know, what we're really happy about as, you know, pulling this location together was the networking opportunity. And, you know, I think, you know, Guy's definitely seen it. Dr. Coleman's been here at our other events as well. It becomes a nice camaraderie, great networking opportunity, and it's all about growth and learning and education, you know, beyond, you know. So as we start thinking forward, especially tomorrow, we will be diving in a little bit more to business. We're going to talk peptides tomorrow as well, as one of the talk points. We're going to dig in more into AI that's being used kind of real time right now as well. Thinking to Eric's point, really, we have to think about where do we want to go with the practice. Tomorrow with Tom Burledge, he's going to dive into operations and structure, and he scaled multiple practices in the cash-based space very successfully. And there's certain things that need to happen, and that's what you guys are really going to get into tomorrow. But as we start thinking about it, having a goal, you know, and having that objective, whether you want more patients or less patients, If you want to increase revenue per patient or increase overall revenue, I mean, that you have to have that kind of perspective, understanding how to stack modalities, and the right modalities, and make sure you're going to use the modalities. How many times have we heard, and heard from providers that ended up kind of segueing into aesthetics and into lasers when it's not their core. And
Right.
it's all because they went to a conference and someone made big promises and they said, oh, look how easy it's going to be. But they're over here and aesthetics is way over here, and that laser sits in the closet and never gets used. And
For
so we-
$6,000 a month.
It
for
explains
a
why
lot of money.
facials for me don't work.
Right, super expensive. And so we want to be very particular on the modalities that we implement, and they have to make sense within the expansion, of the practice. And that's where, for us is kind of a closing, as we look through our core in a destination practice, metabolic, recovery, therapeutic. Those three, in a destination environment, those three are going to always be critical. Whether you have all the recovery modalities, and it could be, extensive. You can go hyperbaric, red light, PMF, and slightly beyond. And we get into therapeutic, might not be 100% your comfort zone, but consider it. If you're going to start doing PRP, Shockwave is a super easy entry point. Those three, core are really important for the destination practice, and so that's what we're talking about. So,
Very powerful.
yeah.
So a couple things about tomorrow. We're starting at 8:30.
8:30.
8:30 again in the morning.
so early.
Traffic wasn't bad
good for
today.
you,
I'm
bro.
sure everybody felt better.
Nothing tomorrow.
Second thing, again, we're going to dive into business. You'll hear some new folks as well. You'll also hear from
today because
John
I had to
on
go
the
take care of
speaking,
that patient.
and on the speaking. Again, I want to give you a distinction. So think about this. There's two sides of your business. There's the business, and then there's you. Your talent, right? Your talent. So you got to remember, you're kind of straddling both if you're running the business. And who's helping you run that operation? Are you using assistants, VAs, AI? Because at some point, how many are familiar with Michael Gerber's E-Myth? Anybody read Michael Gerber's E-Myth? Yeah. So here's what you got to remember as a small business owner. You're CEO, you may be operations, CFO, chief marketing officer. Put your names under there, like if it's a 3-day practice, and who is going to fill that in? Because at the end of the day, and write this down, remember, what is your highest and best use? What's the one thing that you can do better than anyone, and what is that?
Treat orthopedics.
That's right, treat people. That's your highest and best use. When you go, Eric, I'm going to make a flyer. Eric, could you make me one and talk it into chat for me? Hey, when I'm going to start doing payroll, do I have a bookkeeper doing my payroll? Hey, so why? Delegation and supervision is key. I have a staff of about 10 to 15 people, vendors, and we hire on and off at events, and they're managed. And it's delegation and supervision. What happens is that I can say it in the clinic that I'm associated with, the doctor feels nobody else can do anything but him. So then what happens, he's burnt out from the minute he walks in, right? Because he's not saying, hey, I got to do paperwork, but instead what happens is people don't want to let go. I want you to remember this, trust
Delegate.
the process
Delegate,
and
delegate.
effective delegation. I spent my career working with Brian Tracy and Les Brown and Jim Rohn and the biggest speakers in the world. I built a company from nothing. There were 100 people working for us. Now we work through AI and VAs, and I'm used to being in an office, but guess what? Nobody wants to be in an office. Everybody wants to buzz around, right? They all want to be biohackers and Bitcoiners and influencers and whatever. At the end of the day, there's no substitute for hard work and digging in. Just like you spent the day today. Listen, my weight as a patient, and I'll show you some of the things, this was no accident. This was like, I used to write at the top of my page, I am going to take control of my health, until I separated my partnership with the doctor and walked away from doing seminars and said, if I don't do that, I will not be here right now, because if you see some of my pictures, I was headed that way unconsciously. And I share this with you because sometimes you may be running off the rails and you don't know it. Just like the 36-year-old trainer at Crunch. Yeah. Because again, we're running at super high speeds, and we got to say sometimes, take a break. And that's what you did today. So I want to congratulate all of you to take a minute away from your business to kind of get the education.
Invest in yourself.
This is a powerhouse group. John and I have we opened a 9,000 square foot clinic in Brickell. Then we had a Dexa. At first, we didn't even know what it was. Right? And he said, we don't even know if you might have brought it back. He opened a 9,000 square foot clinic. We opened clinics in California, in Coral Gables. So there's no lack of opening. I've seen the exact thing they're talking about. We have millions of dollars of equipment. Does anybody need an exomine treatment? Come on to our office. We got an exomine machine. It's sitting there collecting dust. I only tell you because this is what happens. So when you come here and you go, hey, Jeff, I'm thinking about buying this device, and Jeff is a methodical person. You go, all right. Why are you getting it? Looks great. The guys are giving us a deal. Great. How many patients? Well, they're giving us the marketing program. And you know how that goes. And at the end of the day, you're sitting with a machine with what? How the heck do I cover? I just hope this guy comes in so I can pay the lease.
Yeah.
Then it's no more fun. Now you're working for device companies. And I don't mean that in a bad way. We want to show you going to do devices, and how do I pay it off quick? How do I get the profitability? And how do I scale? So I just wanted to thank you all. Are there any questions? I know Dr. Coleman, I'll hear any other questions that you may have, because I know you, John Hyland, sir?
I gave you all an embedded command today when I first started talking. Does anybody know what it was? Because if you don't know what an embedded command is, you might want to learn. No? I asked you a question, and you remember I said, do you get excited or scared when you speak, right? Do you guys remember me saying that?
Yeah.
Okay, so before I did that, I pointed to my chest, and I said, like me, do you get excited or scared when you speak? And the embedded command is what?
Like me.
Like me. If you want to get an audience or a patient to like you immediately, just point to your chest and say, like me. Do you find? Whatever you want to say. Does your knee hurt? Right? Or whatever. It doesn't matter. And then that person will automatically, subliminally like you. It's almost impossible for them not to. Cool. And so that's called NLP if you don't know. And if you want to know more about NLP, ask the man right there.
Cool.
Who taught me. And it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, when you know how to command the room, when people want to listen to you, like I'm afraid, is anybody here afraid of getting up in front of a room of people?
Yeah, everybody.
Yeah, this guy right here. Sure
I hate
is,
it.
Right? Listen,
Great.
some people don't like
Thank
to
you.
give content. Just get comfortable with it. Your ability to get in front of a room.
Talk
of
about
people
what
is
you
great.
know.
I'll show you some techniques tomorrow. And that's what we do with people. We level them up. We put them inside a program that helps them grow. But more importantly for yourself right now, decompress from today. Think about some of the notes. We videotaped the whole thing for you. And really think about what you want. That's what this is about. So when you come back tomorrow, say, I went home, I thought about it, you're opening a new clinic. What's the excitement? What's the revenue? What's going to get you excited? Is it money? Is it time freedom? Is it providing for your family? It's like, I just love helping people, and this is my jam. Because at the end of the day, when Monday comes, you got to open the door. Are you enthusiastic, or you're like, oh my God, I got to do this again? So anyway, Jeff, any last words?
I have no idea.
Here
I
tomorrow.
think, so,
Here tomorrow.
that was a
Here
great
tomorrow.
day today.
I am, yeah.
I'm really happy. There's
the
going to
main
be
guy.
a lot of
Are
great
you here tomorrow?
content tomorrow. To this point, we
get it.
are rolling
Check it
out.
out.
I've
I
spent
see
the
it.
past couple months putting together something called the Apex Gap Score. It's a practice assessment. We're going to roll it out tomorrow in paper form. I'll have you guys, fill it out tomorrow. There's a quick series of maybe 20 plus questions. Quickly check it off. Takes like 5 minutes. We'll put that into our software that we developed, and it'll create a score and an analysis based on where you're at today, where you want to go. So it's going to show current state, future state, where you want to be, the gap in between, and it's going to assess with a score. And so we're going to do it paper form. You're not going to get the score tomorrow. The software will go live soon to where we're going to start incorporating that into a lot of the things that we do to really help move practices beyond to the direction that they want to go in. So stay tuned for that, and hopefully Tom will talk a little bit about that tomorrow as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everybody. Great day. Thank you for your time and attention. Great job, the panelists, speakers.
Tomorrow. Yeah, we'll chat tomorrow.